Hi everybody, and welcome to Is It Andy, a channel devoted to finding the hand of Andy Warhol in mid-1950s design, where for all these decades, it's arguably been hiding in plain sight. Once his fine art reputation went pop in the 1960s, he himself was ruthless about covering his commercial tracks. A signature, or hardcore documentary evidence, is huge in the art world. If there's no signature, or worse, the wrong signature, that means the work doesn't count, at least in terms of artistic value. But I'm not here for value. I'm here for the thrill of the hunt, to see if examples of Warhol's pre-pop career can be resuscitated from its abandoned tomb. Today's example is a book jacket, a paperback of Albert Camus' play, The Possessed. Any normal Andy hunter with a speck of common sense would see the signature Giusti on the jacket, say next, and keep on rummaging. But maybe this jacket deserves a closer look. Who was George Guisti? The short answer is he was a powerhouse influencer in the world of 1950s design. He did book jackets, album covers, as well as cover art for Fortune, Time, Scientific American, and more. Besides graphic design, he also excelled in sculpture and architecture. Any kid looking to wedge his foot in the door of commercial fine art crossover would have killed for his approval, and for the motherload of gigs he could hook up. So why do I think Andy Warhol had anything to do with this jacket, especially since this book was published in 1963, fairly far along into his metamorphosis as a pop superstar? Let's peek under the skirts of these roped figures where 7 angular wedges stomp and turn. It seems to me, and maybe you'll agree, that these triangular feet are extremely close to those on Andy's dancing sprites, circa the early 1950s. As blocky and primitive as these ones are, Andy had a real thing for feet. He sketched them obsessively for a phase of his career. And of course, we know about his attachment to shoes in all their rainbow-hued, glittering guises. So funnily enough, as unfab as these feet are, they're also potential giveaways. Still more evidence comes up if we pan up to the faces of these dancers, the noses and eyes in the rudimentary shape of his signature sprites, which I talk about in more detail in this video above. Check out the correlation. Here's a sprite in an illustration of an orchestra. Here one for this jacket. The hooded clothing doesn't really cut it as a disguise. Now, taking a step back, Giusti, the art director, must have had struggled with this job. The author is Albert Camus, a Nobel Prize winner, incredibly important to the reputation and prestige of the publisher. But the work itself is heavy, heavy reading. It's Camus' take on Dostoevsky's novel of the same name. Even the critics, professional readers, struggled with it. How do you properly represent the subject between the covers if you could barely slog through the text to convey its themes of revolution, power, and human frailty? I suspect the answer was you don't. Instead, you take up the playwright's identity as an Algerian-born étranger, an outsider. You use an image that seems to show women in burqas doing some sort of tribal dance, which has little to do with the actual work. Now, apart from feet, Andy Warhol was famously into dance. He was the only boy in his modern dance club at school, and a huge fan of ballet for his entire life. So his doing dance imagery would be a natch. Paint on some desert robes, boom, you've got a jacket. Of course, this leaves a huge question. There's no online evidence I can find of a direct connection of these two creatives. If Warhol was in fact involved, was this a collaboration, an appropriation, or something else altogether? 50-year-old design files at Random House, if they still exist, may provide an answer. What is evident at least to my eye, is this is not the only joint effort Warhol undertook where somebody else's name is the one that ended up on the final. Please stay tuned for coming episodes where more examples of Warhol's talent may shine through on book jackets, even when somebody else was the superstar who got credit.